retrieving a foot restraint from the truss, and he's going to be installing that onto the station arm, and he's going to be egressing that, and that's going to take him out to the payload bay. Mike is going to translate out to the payload bay and start removing this antenna from the payload bay. So he is going to be meeting Mike over there. I'm sorry, Bobby will be meeting Mike over there. And there are several bolts to remove. There will be 6 of them. So once Mike removes those bolts, he's going to hand off the antenna to Bobby. And Bobby, again, he's going to stay on the arm and take that out to Z1. When the area is clear, Mike is going to go into the toolbox there, and he's going to be retrieving 2 egress aids and also some cables for a task later on in the EVA. So with these egress aids, they go into the foot restraints, and they basically help with egressing and egressing the foot from the foot restraints. You can see one of them lighting up there. Once Mike is complete with that, he is going to meet Bobby out at Z1, where they're going to be installing this antenna. And this is a picture from the neutral buoyancy laboratory, the big pool. Both crew members are helping in that installation. You see Mike there, he's drilling the bolts for it. So Bobby's going to stay on the arm and go off to his next task, which I'll get to in a moment. Mike is going to stay in the area. He's going to be going to Z1, where he is going to be taking those cables that he retrieved from the toolbox in the payload bay. And these cables are for an antenna that's going to be launched on a future flight. And it's 2 assemblies. It's 2 cables. One of the cables has a bracket on there, and he's going to be wire tying it to some handrails. The second cable, it's a longer cable. He's going to be plugging that into the station and taking some wire ties and routing them along the handrails. So wire ties, they're pretty similar to coat hangers that you can secure things off on a structure. Once Mike's done with that, he heads on over to node 1, where he is going to be removing a handrail on the station and in its place installing an ammonia bracket. That bracket is very similar to a typical station handrail, except it does have separate brackets on there that when node 3 does get installed, which is planned for the next shuttle mission, some ammonia lines can run through that bracket, and you can see that installed there. From there, he heads off. He still stays on node 1, and there is a cable that possibly can interfere with the installation of node 3, and he's going to wire tie that cable off. There's also some debris shields that are currently held off with some tethers, and so he's going to remove those tethers and put some wire ties on it as a more permanent stowage for those shields. Moving off to Bobby, who is still on the arm, he's going to be doing some lubrication of some of the robotics hardware that's on station. So the first one he's going to be lubricating is what we call the POA, which is the payload and ORU accommodation. He's lubricating that, and then next he goes off and is going to be lubricating the Japanese robotics arm. So he has a grease gun that he squirts grease into the bearings, and it's just a preventative maintenance. We've done it several times with several of the other robotics tools we have on station. And this is a picture of Bobby performing that lubrication in the pool. So that concludes what Bobby does for EVA1. Mike does have one more task left. This one is out on S0. The previous mission, STS-129, they did run into some issues of connecting up an avionics cable that's needed for node 3 activation. And so we are going to be launching an adapter for that. They believe it's a keying issue with the cable going into the panel, and so this adapter will help us overcome that keying issue. We are going to try to connect it up one more time. Possibly it may have been thermal issues during that EVA, but if that doesn't work, we do have the adapter to help us. And that concludes the activities that we have planned for EVA1. And I do have some tools to show you. First, here is a grease gun. It looks like a standard caulk gun that you have, and we do